Welcome to the AP Sports Pod. This is Andrew Pasquinelli giving you my Circa picks. We're on a little bit of a heater right now. I think 13-1-1 last 3 weeks. So hopefully that's not a jinx. Let's take a quick little recap at the games last week. Colts, Patriots from Europe. Ugly game. Maybe even a lucky cover. I have to reassess my evaluation of the Colts. I said they got a good offense that's going to outscore the last two teams they played. Well, against Carolina, they got 14 points on defense. They only scored 10 against New England. Got lucky, I think. Pulled off the W. Got the cover. That one wasn't pretty, but we'll take it. Vikings, Saints. Vikings are just better than people think. Whether it's with Kirk Cousins or whether it's with Josh Dobbs, I think Minnesota's underrated. New Orleans overrated. Minnesota controlled the game. New Orleans had a chance at the end, maybe to force it into overtime with the last minute drive or late fourth quarter drive plus a 2-point conversion. Didn't happen. Minnesota solid pick. Good winner. Pittsburgh and Green Bay. If you watch the other show, you can listen to the nonsense that my buddy spews about the Green Bay Packers. The Packers aren't very good. I don't care how many interceptions they throw. They're interceptions because they're not very good. They're going into Pittsburgh. They're not going to go beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh. The offense isn't good enough. And so Steelers got out to an early lead. It was kind of a little bit back and forth. Steelers extended the lead. The Packers couldn't finish it off. I actually thought the Steelers kind of screwed up the late game management. Gave the Packers a chance, still couldn't take advantage of it. Game of the weekend. Lions, Chargers, got a push out of it. Touchdown, 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 touchdown. It was unbelievable when I did my statistical analysis. The Detroit Lions got 91% of the potential yards in that game. Meaning, if they started every drive on the 30-yard line, their own 30, they got inside the 10 every single time. Crazy. That's definitely an outlier stat. Don't think that's going to happen again. That was a push. Give the Chargers credit. They can score. I've got some money on the Chargers under 9.5 win total. That's tracking pretty well right now, but they're a little bit better than I thought. They just don't win. They just don't beat good teams. That's their problem. I think Detroit's pretty good. -3. Ended up in a push. That's all right. And then Denver +7 at Buffalo. Probably a game Denver got a little lucky to win. A lot of turnovers for Buffalo. Denver didn't really take advantage. A lot of short field goals instead of touchdowns. But in the end, they covered 7 pretty easily. I think Denver's got a little momentum here. Buffalo's hot and cold. Not sure what's going to happen this week. So let's talk about week 11. Where am I going with my Circa Millions pick? First game, I'm going back against the Packers. This time the Packers are at home against the Chargers. This is a situation I just don't think the Packers can keep up. The Chargers defense isn't good, so I expect a pretty good offensive performance from the Packers, but just not good enough to keep up with the Chargers. The Chargers are an offensive juggernaut. They score a ton when they're behind. So even if they get behind in this game, bam, they come back. Right? It's simple analysis. I don't really have a lot of information here. Green Bay plays Detroit on Thanksgiving. Are they really looking ahead to that game? I don't think so, because I think they're going to lose both of them. So this is an opportunity. How good of an opportunity is this for the Packers? They're playing a home game after losing last week. Totally different challenge. Pittsburgh is a defensive challenge. The Chargers are an offensive challenge. I think they're going to come up on the wrong side of both of them. I can see this game getting ugly. I'm not sure this one is close. I think the Chargers get into the 30s again. Green Bay struggles to get into the mid-20s. Give me the Chargers -3 all day long. Similar fashion, Detroit Lions -8 versus Chicago. I love this. Because Justin Fields is playing. It brought the line down. I was thinking about Detroit -10, Detroit -10.5, whatever the contest line was going to be. I was looking at it. Just enter Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields does make a difference. To statistically, I don't think this game is going to be that close either, similar to game one on my card. I worry a little bit that Detroit plays on Thanksgiving. Get Detroit, Green Bay on Thanksgiving. But in what could have been a look-ahead spot, Detroit at home against Chicago, the Justin Fields news, I think, refocuses the Lions. I don't think they're going to take the Bears lightly because Justin Fields is playing. I don't think that's really in their personality either. The personality of Detroit, although I've never been there, the personality of Detroit that I believe exists is just a blue-collar grinder town. I think Dan Campbell is a grinder. I don't think their team, their offense plays kind of finesse. I think they're more of a finesse-y team, but they've got a grinder mentality. I think Goff is a grinder. So I don't think they were going to take the Bears lightly anyway. I think Fields playing snaps them out of whatever possibility that had of happening. They're refocused. They're just flat out better than the Bears. And then they look ahead to Thanksgiving. Packers. I don't think the Packers are that much of a threat either. I would look for Detroit to also beat the Packers on Thanksgiving. That game is on my very, very potential pick list. So give me Detroit -8. Dallas at Carolina. This is the biggest mismatch of the weekend. I don't like taking double-digit spreads. All right, but I'm going to do it here, even though there's been one road team this year to be favored by double digits. It's the Dallas Cowboys. Not only did they not cover, they lost the game outright to Arizona. Okay, that was way back in week 3, I think. They came back the next week and absolutely smashed whoever they played before playing the 49ers, and then they got boat raced by the 49ers. Okay, I say all that to say this. The Cowboys have proven they have an ability to blow people out. More so than probably any team in the NFL. The Cowboys have put up 20-point win, 25-point win, 30-point win, 40-point win. Like, they will blow you out. They haven't really done it on the road, with the exception of week 1, but they've also played better teams. Yeah, they lost to Philadelphia on the road. Carolina's not Philadelphia. They barely beat the Chargers. Carolina's not the Chargers. They lost to somebody else too. Yep. In addition to the 49ers. So we have a mismatch. I went back and looked last year. Last year, the Cowboys played at Minnesota the week before Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving doesn't really bother me with the Cowboys. They do it every year. They're used to doing it. They know it's on the schedule. And so what happened last year? Last year, they went to Minnesota prior to the Thanksgiving weekend game, the Thanksgiving Day game, excuse me. Minnesota's way better than Carolina. Minnesota last year's way better than Carolina this year. The Cowboys won 40, was it 40-3? 40-8? Absolute beatdown on the road leading into the Thanksgiving Day game. I could very easily see the same thing happening again. This is a complete mismatch. I don't have much faith in Bryce Young or Frank Reich or anybody on the Carolina Panthers roster to match up with the Dallas Cowboys. This is a complete mismatch. Did the Cowboys look ahead to Thanksgiving? Well, they play Washington. So my theory on looking ahead is there's got to be something to look at. Like, you're not going to look ahead at something that's not really there. So does Dallas perceive Washington as a threat? I don't think so. Now, if Dallas were playing Philly, that could get their attention. If Dallas were playing San Francisco, that would get their attention. Dallas playing Washington? I don't think so. So again, add it all up. History this season with Dallas, they can blow people out. This is probably the biggest mismatch of the season. This is probably the biggest mismatch on the card this week. I also like the fact that Dallas started a little slow last week against New York and still came out and blasted them. So even if the game is a little iffy early on, I think they respond. I think they crush Carolina. LA and Seattle. This is one of my sneakier picks of the weekend. Could go 50-50. I believe this is a last possession fourth quarter game. Why am I taking the Rams? Seattle snuck by Cleveland 3 weeks ago. Seattle got smashed against Baltimore 2 weeks ago. Seattle barely beat Washington last week. I just don't think Seattle's playing that well. Bottom line. So the other thing that worries me about Seattle is they do have something to look ahead to on Thanksgiving. They got a home game against the 49ers, and then it goes Niners, Dallas, Niners, Eagles. If they don't win this game, they could lose 5 straight. So from that perspective, I like the urgency that Seattle has. Like, we need to win this game. We got to go all in, figure it out, make sure it happens. I just don't think they're good enough to do that. It's kind of like Buffalo, waiting for them to flip the switch and have like a dominant game. I'm not sure Seattle has that in them right now. I think they're better than the Rams. I just don't know if this is a good spot, especially considering Rams are coming off a bye. It's a division game at home. They're going to be as healthy as they have been recently. Stafford did not look at the Rams' previous games. They're not as good as the Cowboys. They went to Dallas and got blasted. Then they went to Green Bay with no quarterback and lost. Okay, so this is a completely different team with Stafford at quarterback, with time to prepare, with the health of the wide receivers. I like the Rams here. I just think, and another key factor is the Rams kicked their ass in week 1, which was, to me, completely out of nowhere. I looked at the week 1 schedule and I said, if there's one team I cannot make any case for winning in week 1, it's the LA Rams. And they blasted Seattle up there in the great Northwest. So in this situation, I look for Seattle to flip the switch. I like the urgency with Seattle. I'm not sure they have it in them. And it's a terrible spot for them to try to do it because the Rams are coming off a bye. They're playing at home. They had their number in week 1. I think Seattle beat them both times last year. Stafford didn't play in either game last year. So like the spot for Seattle. In this game, when I checked last night, I'm recording pretty early. This is Saturday morning at about 4:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. When I checked last night, the Rams had actually flipped to being favored by 1. So could possibly have some CLV when the game closes. Last but not least, back on the Broncos against the Vikings. I hate to go against the Vikings here. I like the Vikings. I've got some Vikings futures. I also have some Denver futures. I just think it's a rabbit's foot kind of moment for Minnesota. They've pulled off a couple games with Dobbs. I don't mind Dobbs at all. I like Dobbs going forward. But I think Denver's got a little momentum. Didn't expect them to win the game against Buffalo. They're playing at home. It's a primetime game. Don't have to give up more than a field goal. And I just think things are starting to come together a little bit for Denver. Next week, and this is kind of how things break. Next week, Denver plays Cleveland at home. Cleveland no longer has Deshaun Watson. So can they stack a win against Kansas City, stack a win against Buffalo, stack a win against Minnesota, stack a win against the Browns? All of a sudden, Denver's right in the mix. So this is a spot where I think Denver's got to win. I don't think this game is going to be comfortable. I think it's going to be close. I think Denver is probably going to win by 3 or 4 would be my guess. If I had to put like an exact number on it, I would say Denver wins by 3 or 4. Minnesota, a little bit of a rabbit's foot. Good team, solid team. Like them. I don't hate them in this game. I don't hate them in this matchup. But I just think going outdoors, prime time, in Denver, going to be cold, different circumstances. You give me the Broncos. And I will say, Minnesota next week plays the Bears on Monday Night Football. So this could be a situation where we've won a couple games in a row. This is a tough spot for them. That's okay. We'll bounce back and rebound and smash the Bears next week at home. So those are the picks. Not a ton of data in these picks. I'm looking at my list here. The games that I instinctively liked right when I saw the matchups were the Chargers, the Lions, and the Broncos. I talked myself into the Rams. I talked myself into the Cowboys. There's other games on the schedule I liked. What I'll diversify in the other things I do. I play pregame.com. the Like Super contest. I also have a pool on RYP, which will have some different picks on it. But for the Circa Million, the big dog, the big boys, this is it. Chargers to outscore the Packers in a game that I don't think will be that close. Lions against the Bears, similar fashion. I don't think the game's very close. Carolina and Dallas. Dallas is just significantly better than Carolina. So if they show up with any type of motivation, they should blast Carolina. I like the Rams in this spot against Seattle. Seattle wobbling a little bit, not playing dominant football. Great spot for the Rams, coming off a bye, getting healthy, beating them before. And then I think, even though both teams have momentum, Minnesota and Denver, I think the edge is a little bit on Denver's side. Minnesota, a little bit of a rabbit's foot with a backup QB against teams that are iffy, versus the last two times we've seen Denver, they beat Kansas City and beat Buffalo. I like the direction Denver is headed. Hopefully it's another solid week. I'd love a 5-0, and then the pressure would really be on. But we'll see what happens. You never know what's going to happen in the NFL picking these games. Crazy stuff happens. Good, bad. Last week, what was it? Like 8 walk-off field goals or something. So a lot of those games could have gone the other direction. But there it is. Hopefully it's a bunch of winners. Peace.